Praise the Lord, guys. My name is Straw Greenhorn. Now when the disciples were come to the other side, they had forgotten to take bread. That's when Jesus came unto them and said, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees. But then they reasoned amongst themselves, saying, it is because we have forgotten to take bread. And when Jesus perceived this, he answered and said unto them, O ye of little faith, why reason ye amongst yourselves because ye have forgotten to take bread? Are you without understanding? Do you not remember the 7 loaves and the 4,000, or the 5 loaves and the 5,000? How many baskets of fragments you took up? How is it that you not understand that I speak to you not of bread, but rather of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees? Then they understood and perceived that he spoke to them not of the leaven of bread, but rather of the doctrine of the Pharisees and Sadducees. So here we see the disciples mixing up something that is literal with something that is metaphorical. And at this point, Jesus was expecting their faith to grow. If you listen to how he answers them, he was expecting their faith to grow. He was expecting their wisdom and their knowledge and their awareness to increase. He was expecting that they would begin to see things as how he saw them. He was expecting that they would have evolved and that their way of thinking would have changed. But, they were slow in getting there. But luckily they had him nearby. Because if you listen to how he answers them, it's obvious that you can see. So this one is about them. Alright, so it starts out by saying, and when the disciples had got to the other side, they had forgotten to take bread. And then that's when Jesus came unto them saying, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees. So this is kind of coincidental that they're arguing with each other, and then Jesus comes talking about something that relates to bread. And if you understood, they had just fed both the 4,000 and the 5,000 with the fishes and the loaves. You could understand why they would be concerned they had no bread. So you could understand why they would be concerned that they had no bread, because so far he's been taking what they had and multiplying it. So if there was nothing to multiply, would he still be able to do the same thing? Knowing him, yeah, he probably would have been able to do it. But they were concerned because they were just trying to keep up with what he was doing, because he was a pioneer. He was the one orchestrating all these things. So he kind of set them up a little bit, because to hear them talking about them forgetting to take bread, and then to come and say beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees, that's when they started to reason amongst themselves, saying it is because we have taken no bread. So they were making literal connections. They were missing the spiritual and the metaphorical connection between what he was saying. So when they came to the other side, I would imagine they had a checklist of things that they had to do, things that they had to get. Because if you think about at the Last Supper, when he dipped the sop and gave it to Judas, and then he said unto him, that thou doest do quickly. And they thought that he meant go and buy the things that we have need of, because he was the one that kept the money back. So, for whatever reason, they did not stock up on supplies. So they came over to the other side, and now he makes a comment about leaven, which has to do with bread. I'm pretty sure that they got it in their mind that about what he could do with the fishes and the loaves. So they were just anticipating, what will come next. Maybe they thought that he was gonna do it again. And like I said, if there's nothing to multiply, then obviously we would be in big trouble. So they actually missed the metaphorical meaning behind what he was trying to say. So we see them here start reasoning amongst themselves, saying that it's because we have taken no bread. So obviously they didn't understand what he meant, and they were trying to brainstorm. They were trying to brainstorm ideas, throwing things out, so that they can figure out what he was trying to say to them. That's what they were actually doing, brainstorming. What could this mean? Like I said, he was expecting them to evolve and to see things the way that he did, and to grow in knowledge and wisdom and understanding. But they were a little bit slow in getting there. That's when he perceived what they were saying, and he said, O ye of little faith, why reason ye amongst yourselves because ye have forgotten to take bread? So this O ye of little faith, goes along with all the other times that he said it. When he spoke in the parables about the sower that went to sow seed, and all the other things that he spoke in parables, usually it was that they would miss the point. And this in of itself was also a parable. So, O ye of little faith, why argue you amongst yourselves because you have forgotten to take bread? You're missing the meaning of what it is that I'm saying, and I'm trying to teach you guys. Not only what I'm trying to teach you guys, what I'm trying to get you guys to become. Because I just put this one out there, and I was hoping that at least maybe one of you guys will be able to pick up and understand and catch on what it is, the trajectory of what it is that I'm doing and where I'm going. But you guys are missing it completely. So why argue you amongst yourselves because you have forgotten to take bread? And then he goes to remind them, saying, remember, do you not understand or remember the 5 loaves and the 5,000, or the 7 loaves and the 4,000? So he was trying to jog their memory a little bit and to get them thinking. But ultimately he ended up having to give the answer to them, from scratch. So then I guess a good question would be, if he was not speaking of bread, but rather something else, Why would he go to jog their memory by reminding them of bread, 5 loaves and the 5,000 and the 4 loaves, the 7 loaves and the 4,000? Why would he go directly into speaking about the literal bread that he just multiplied? It's because he was trying to point them to the answer. Because they had just came to him asking of him a sign from heaven. They had just came to him asking him about a sign from heaven. And that's when he told them about, the sign of Jonah being in the belly of the fish 3 days, the Son of Man being in the earth 3 days. It's because that was the sign, if they were paying attention, that he just took the 5 loaves to 5,000 or the 7 loaves to 4,000. So even though he's not talking about loaves literally, because he's even, I believe that he's really setting them up at this point, because he's not literally speaking about loaves, but he's answering the question using loaves, and they are confused thinking that he's speaking of loaves. So can you see how convoluted this must have appeared to them? Because what he was getting at is that they had just came to me asking me for a sign, when the sign was the loaves. So then he said, go ahead and be wary of the leaven, of their leaven. He's keeping it, completely about bread at this point, because the loaves, the miracle of the loaves, was the sign that they came unto me asking for. And if they didn't like that one, then they could revert to the healing of the blind, the dumb, the leprosy, bringing back people back from the dead, Lazarus, and that little girl that had died. So when he says, do you not remember the 5 loaves and the 5,000, the 7 loaves and the 4,000, he's saying to them that this is the sign that these guys just came unto me asking for. So beware of their doctrine, because they're not really looking for answers. You're looking to people wrong and to just be belligerent. They're not looking for things of faith. They're looking for something else. I don't even know what they're looking for at this point. So beware of them, because the 7 loaves and the 5 loaves, that was the sign that these guys were looking for, that they just came onto me asking for. So that's why he answered this question, because like I said, first of all, they forgot to take bread, knowing that it's the very bread that he multiplies and feeds the multitude. Even though he only did it twice, he did not do it again. But they did not know that he would not have done it again. So first of all, we have no bread. Then Jesus comes on to us speaking about leaven, and then he answers the story by talking about bread. He really did. I gotta say, he did set them up using this one. But it's all in good form. And then he goes on to say, how is it that you do not understand that I speak to you not of bread but of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees? So he's trying to get the wheels turning even some more. He's giving them all the hints that he can, and they did get it right. Because he goes on to say that then they perceived that he spoke to them not of the leaven of bread, but rather of the doctrine of the Pharisees and Sadducees. Because all these things were done really to open up your eyes for you to see him, that he was exactly who he said he was. You were supposed to be building a house at this point, brick by brick, with everything that he was doing and saying and teaching. And he was expecting them, especially who had been around him and seen everything that he done. Because remember, they were traveling from city to city, and not everybody got to see everything that he did, but they did. They got to see everything. So they should have had enough bricks right now to build the house for them to look at it and understand, from a deeper perspective. But yet still they were caught, sleeping. So the warning here is to not be like the Pharisees and Sadducees. And what is it to be like them? To miss the point of everything that he's doing. Because they keep coming asking for a sign, and he's giving it to them. They keep finding fault with everything that he does. They call him Beelzebub when he casts out the devils. When he healed on the Sabbath, they found fault with that, saying that they would rather have seen this man come back another day to receive his healing, come back another day and go and endure even more hardship, instead of just receiving his deliverance right then and there. Because his greatest complaint against them were their traditions. You see, they had made the law completely about their traditions and their ceremonies, and they were missing the whole thing. So what they were actually asking him to do was to prove to them, using their principles, using their materials, using their point of view, to us that you are right by using our point of view, which are the ceremonies and the traditions, the ritualistic checklist of things that they do when they enter the temple, being so blind that they can't appreciate the miraculous things that they're seeing in front of their eyes. To see somebody blind receiving their their sight. Somebody deaf being able to hear. The dumb being able to speak. The dead coming back to life. Healing leprosy. You know, you really have to be blind to miss these signs and then hold on to doubt. You know, it's different from our day. You know, God still does miracles, but it's not on a level like he was doing when he was physically here. God still heals, God still cures, he still delivers, still does all these things, even today. But not like this when Jesus walked the earth. I mean, all concentrated. You see in him, you know, the blind person come to him and then they receive their sight, you know. That's like going to a New Year's Eve, you know, celebration, and it hits 12 o'clock and they start with the fireworks and you not being able to appreciate the firework, the beauty of how it lights up the sky. They were missing beauty of his miracles lighting up the sky on New Year's Eve. That's what was going on here. My name is Straw Greenhorn.